Start recording now. Welcome to my podcast editing stream. I'm editing a podcast that I did with comic book writer Joshua Dysart. It is very, very long. I'm just, as of today, just trying to cut between the two camera angles. That's my goal for this edit. And we recorded for an hour. We actually only recorded for like 30 seconds. And then I think the sheet on the window, the curtain, touched the touchscreen of my laptop, cut off the recording. So I asked him a bunch of killer questions, didn't record any of it. And when I realized that, because I just got lost in the conversation, I'm the host and the producer at the same time, so I got lost in the conversation and was not looking at the screen. And that is a mistake on my end. That is a mistake. So I restarted the recording, and then we went for another, like, almost 3 hours. I don't know how that happens. It was a nice visit. It was a great conversation. So now I'm working through all that. Ooh. Oh, let me turn up the desktop audio so y'all can hear this too.
Yeah. So it's a combination of
Okay, yeah, that's better. Just making sure you guys can hear.
as a minority, like a white dude in South Texas is a soft minority,
Yeah.
and then also finding myself in white spaces and having people just be fucking racist, just totally racist. And you know, my cousins, my uncle, these are dark-skinned people, and so maybe that's it. Maybe where I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is kind of fucked up. And then, you know, and then also as a young man, I went to Mexico for a year, just about a year, and traveled around, and I went there to party and try to get laid or whatever. And what I ended up doing was being there during a historically defining political assassination and the war between Chiapas. The Chiapas conflict, the Chiapas revolution, and I ended up being very politicized in that space, and so maybe that's where that comes from.
Interesting.
But I appreciate you bringing that up.
I found it. I would have at that time probably been offended to hear you say it.
Oh,
because of my background.
well, you come from
just because of my background.
well, you come from like a very Anglo-religious.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me do the work. Let me actually do the work. Nope. because I linked all this together so I can cut through. I'm gonna have to unlink after.
So, like, just
We'll do that on the next pass.
The same way you unlearn racism, you know what I mean? Like, I'm racist, and I'm unlearning it. That's my thing to say as a white man in 2025. If it could age as well as your interview in 2009, I want that to be the thing that would come out of this. At the time, I was so conservative, and like I'm still unlearning the conservative things that I was raised around. And so, as I heard you say it last night, listening, I was proud of you in this brain. And then I was like, what would my brain have said? No, I was a college conservative. No. I would have been like, listen, Ben Shapiro has some shit to say about you feeling bad about being a white man.
Yeah.
And it's like, yikes, you know?
Yeah.
Like, not wouldn't have been useful for me at the time.
Well, I don't know that we can ever take credit for who we are and the things we do right, because I also in my 20s, even in my 30s, was shameful in the way that I treated women. You know what I mean? So there was a large time in my life where my speech, by modern parlance, would have been considered wokeified and played well in conversation.
Yeah.
But if you were in a relationship with me, or if you were a man or a woman in a relationship with me, I was probably treating you like shit. And in different ways, like I was married as a young person and was a very, very young father, because it was here in the South. That's how we do it.
Yep.
And I was a terrible husband and a terrible father. And then, over time, like, you don't change overnight, but over time you begin to internalize your faults and try to grow, and you have experiences that make you a better person, sort of one person at a time.
Yeah.
But, I was still figuring out ways to be a dick and justify my behavior to my communities in that regard when it came to relationships. Emotional relationships. So, I appreciate that my interviews hold up. But I've certainly been a terrible person.
Sure.
Yeah,
No, yeah.
I certainly have lots of things I regret. But I'm trying, Lord. Lord, I'm trying. So
When you presented your best side, it presented well. You presented...
Trying, Lord. Lord, I'm trying. So
When you presented your best side, it presented well.
Nice.
You know
I
what
love
mean?
that.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's all we can do, right? The most boring platitude in the world is fake it till you make it, but it also might be the most honest.
True. Because it starts... True. Because it starts to feel right after a while.
Yeah, because eventually you really do start to make it. Like, I'm... Yeah, because eventually you really do start to make it. Like, I'm really showing up for the people in my life now in a way that I didn't,
That's really exciting. That's really exciting.
So exciting. It's the right way to be. I love to see young... So exciting. It's the right way to be. I love to see young people who already know that. I can't believe it took them so fucking long.
We don't have classes for it. I've found.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, the way I wanted to open this was introducing you as the only positive male mentor I have.
Oh, that's really awesome.
And a compliment to you,
Oh, that's...
you as the only positive male mentor I have.
Oh, that's really awesome.
And a compliment to you, into camera. How are men in their 50s this bad?
I can't stand them.
To you?
Yeah.
How am I having to tell men in their 50s don't use the R word? You're an adult. You shouldn't even have to, like, I should just say don't say this word and then you just take it out of your vocabulary. Why is there an argument around this as well? Like,
I say honestly, I really, really, really think the things that have allowed me to grow and kept me from, for lack of a better term, using the R word in my 50s,
right?
It is because I was always a writer.
Should I increase the speed on this, maybe? Because I feel like if I went, like, 200% and then undo that after... Oh, that looks awful. Oh, no. I hope that works.
To struggle to be a good person. Because you're going to have to write people that aren't you. I can't just write all white dudes. And to do that, I'm going to have to expand my heart as much as possible, become as vast a human being as I am capable of becoming in this moment, and understand universal humanity and what harms people and what elevates people. Otherwise, it's not going to end up in the work, and the work is going to be at best shallow and at worst harmful. So honestly, I am so fortunate that I chose the path. I know people with noisy brains because they don't have anything to spin their wheels on. My wheels spin as crazy as anybody else's, but at night when I'm going to bed, I'm not stressed about bills and shit. I'm like trying to fix my scene. I'm trying to make my character more human, or trying to find a way to get to an intellectual concept that I don't want to over-intellectualize. Right? So that's what I'm spinning my wheels on. And I think also...
I've never edited this way in my life, and I'm not sure if this is gonna work. Okay. Let me not confuse myself.
Unconsciously, always, I've been working on my acceptance of other people so that they could be fully realized people in my fiction. Yeah, and I think that saved me. Because there's no other reason, considering where I come from and the kind of person I was, there's no other reason for me to be whatever the fuck I am now that I'm proud of, right? So, I think it's the right thing to say. I think creativity can save, yeah, and that's the saving life and empathy, right? You can't get into another character as a writer without being able to empathize to another human being. Yeah, and something about practicing that over and over and over and giving the person that cut you off in traffic the same fullness of life behind it. Yeah, that was a very small moment, a human moment, right? Yes, but they had a full life, and they have parents that they struggled with or didn't because they weren't involved, and they interacted with people grown or not grown because of it, and giving someone that fullness is a practice of empathy. Yes, and it is the hardest to be empathic in the moments when it is the most valuable.
This is frenetic. This is... Whoa, okay.
Right? It's a, and I don't know how to see. Like, our whole species has been, maybe since 2009, has been maybe a little bit more radicalized by the internet than I would like. Maybe I have slipped a little. Maybe I was more empathic in 2009 than I am today. But for the most part, because I'm not always happy with, I used to be a little bit more clear-headed when there was, like, a lot less terminal online. But also, I learned so much by being terminally online, too. I have so many friends in non-proximal space. I have so many young people in my life telling me what they think and how they feel. I don't think I'd be as, I don't know, it's hard to say, but I don't think I'd be as interested and clearly, motivated by trans rights or something like that without this online space. Maybe it's not true that I've been as a young person, I was in relationships with some trans people, but like, this is a whole other thing. And as you get older, it's a gift to be able to not occupy space.
It's like I'm interviewing the chipmunks. Oh my god. So Alvin, how do you feel about inclusivity in your writing?
Inside of these movements, there's a reason for me to be in, what am I trying to say? A perfect example is there's a great documentary called Shakedown. And it's the history, the brief history of the illegal black lesbian strip clubs, or black queer female strip clubs that existed in Los Angeles for a brief amount of time before they were shut down. Wow. And it's fucking awesome. I love the documentary. And what I love about it is it allows me to exist in a space I should never be in. There's no reason for me to take up space inside one of those shakedown clubs. That needs to be for a woman of color who should keep it. That needs to be for, I can't take even the little amount of space where another woman, a queer woman of color could be. But I can watch this movie and I can learn so much about what it means to be this kind of person. And I can take a part of me that wants to be fast, and I can put as much of that as I'm intellectually and emotionally and spiritually capable of putting inside of me. And so online does that as well, but also makes me a pissed off person. I'm getting the yang of it, and I'm trying to be better.
My laugh is so funny in Chipmunk.
I'm trying to find the joy of being alive inside of those kinds of emotions. Right? Like anger, like when taking a second to be like, when I think back over my life, I don't want to only feel alive during the happy moments. I want to recognize like when I'm crying in my bed at night over a trauma. Yeah. For me, like grieving it comes along with saying like I'm lucky to feel a bad feeling this deeply. Yes. And like that's part of being alive. I no longer identify as a Buddhist, but a big journey for me that I think was very helpful and I'm really thankful that I came across was when I began to get into Buddhism and in my late 20s and really specifically at that time the teachings that I would want to heal other people. And I think I took a lot, and I still carry, even though I no longer identify as Buddhist, I still carry a lot of that. Like it's like what you say, it's a joy to be angry. You know, there's the Alan Watts line that I carry with me a lot is man suffers because he takes seriously what the gods meant as a joke. And so I really try to internalize that. I'm surrounded by people who I love, who are the most important people in my life who don't internalize that. So that is also a struggle. You know, when you love somebody, you begin to become sort of emotionally, biochemically tethered to their emotions, and so they're there. So if they, so I try to hold that when everyone around me is despairing or whatever. So I'm with you. Yeah. It's a practice. It's a practice. Even within the empathy needed for yourself. You know, like the ego can pop out and be like, you don't have to say that to yourself during this time. Yeah. Well, you thought it, but it's like no, I want to sit with that experience. Yeah. And you have to be like, yeah, exactly. You know, you need to. But this again, for me, it really goes back to writing. Like that's really the thing to say. Like,
Ooh. Without excuses for way too long.
You really have to be able to unpack and dismantle yourself without paralyzing yourself. You really have to be able to dismantle yourself and then put yourself back together. You have to do that with your work. You have to say, what about this doesn't work? Tear it apart and face your ego and then try to fix it. And you have to do that with yourself. Yeah. All the same. And really, I don't mean to speak for all 53-year-old men. I just see that we are, it feels like, I'm not very smart about these things, but it feels like we're in a period where no one is teaching anymore the value and joy of struggling with your ego. Yeah. That the ego is really front and center right now. Maybe this is just an old man talking, maybe it's not true. I see amazing young people all the time. I have amazing young people for friends, but it does seem like ego and hustle and is a really dominant part of our current culture. And for me personally, that was never the way to be a better person. That was always the way to be unhappy and unadventurous in the real ways. The real adventures. Yeah. This is the adventure of like doing things that scare you instead of hustle culture is so locked in. Like that's even a term, right? Just locked in. And it's like sometimes there are no rhinestone eras where you do have to like do the work. But I find that they're not willing to do the new experiences that like stretch you and make you grow. Yeah, they're scaring you where your ego's gonna tell you, well, you're not gonna do that, so do that. Maybe that's our switch into like creative projects and processes. Like if your mind is telling you you're not good enough to do this right the first time, it's not even an attempt. Yes, that's in our first one of this. It has to be where the starting point is. I think that's for me where the starting point is when I recognize there's something I want to do and then my ego goes, you're not gonna be good at it. That's when I go, I have to try this. Like, let me do a fucked up bad one real quick just to experience it. And I've never walked out of one disappointed or anything fucked up. What's the science there? Yeah, well, I'm a national writer. But I don't know the science. I do know that I operate from a place of tremendous fear and doubt, and that it has both.
Being able to cut between the two of us is going to take out all the times that I reach over to drink my coffee, and I'm excited for that because I hate putting all my downtime on the internet. And I say that in a stream like this where I'm not going to cut this at all. I'm just going to upload it as it is. I'm goofy and silly and hypocritical. That's just how it is. Uh-oh. Someone on the internet misinterpreted what I was saying because they weren't listening. I love when people send you a long comment and you read it and you're like, where the fuck did you get this from? And then it's like one word they focused in on. I was talking about the arc of the prequel trilogy in real life, going from not being well-liked to being well-liked. That arc of our, like, opinion of it. And then I was comparing it to the sequel trilogy and wondering if the sequel trilogy would have a similar real-world arc of us not liking a bunch of it and then coming to like a bunch of it. And the comment is, of course the sequel trilogy has a story arc, it's about this. And it's like, dog, I was not even talking about the story at all. At all. I was talking about our opinions of it out here in the real world. But it's okay. You didn't listen. You weren't paying attention. You just wanted to prove me wrong on the internet. Goofy ass.
I ended up
before I get too deep into this, I need to prove to myself that I'm going to be able to undo this. The speed ramping. Oh god, I hope I didn't fuck this up. Oh no! This is how we learn. This is how we learn. Alright. So, let's just grab this much, put it in a 4K sequence, call this Dysart interview full. Paste. Then let's okay. So that worked because there was space for it to relax. Copy. And then speed duration, let's call this 100.
At best shallow and at worst harmful. So I honestly,
Like saving light and empathy, right?
yeah.
Oh no, it's not gonna work that way. God damn it. Oh no, okay. So there's no shortcuts here, huh? Is that what we're saying? I'm gonna have to individually change the speed on these. I'm so glad I didn't go too deep. I'm so glad I didn't go too deep. Also did not mean to do all that. Speed duration. Oh, this is so frustrating. Look at all this extra work I just made for myself. Because I want to keep these cuts. That's part of it. Cancel. All right, while I'm doing this, let me see if I can talk while I work. I have been working on my passport stuff. That's been my current life task. And that shit went sideways. Not bad, but like I'm using a rush service and we're going to find out very shortly if that rush service was worth anything. I'm a little scared, I'm not gonna lie. So the way the process works is you have to get all this paperwork together for the passport, which was in and of itself a fucking hassle. David Hasselhoff. These I can, because they were all spaced out, I can change the speed. And now that's all one chunk. See that? And that fixes that. And I'll cut that and jump back over here. And then I can bop, bop, bop. That's everything I've cut so far.
I certainly have lots of things I regret.
Okay, no more chipmunks. Disappointing, but Why? Why don't you like the number 1? 100. What are we doing here, guys?
For young people who want to do this.
Yeah.
And by this I mean live a creative life. Both pragmatically, financially,
Yeah.
and also kind of spiritually. But your first step has got to be, you have to have the courage to only need a roof and a meal.
Yeah.
And then everything else is. And I think one of the mistakes that I made was I'm moving to Venice Beach, which I loved and fed me a lot. Not physically fed me, but what I'm saying, like gave me a lot, and a huge part, big part of who I am is because I spent 20 years living in Venice Beach, and a big part of who I am as a woke person is because of that, because I had a lot of relationships with houseless people, and I was very interested in the darker side of Venice Beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I grew a lot there, but at the same time, if I had fucking moved to some cheap ass place in the middle of the country, I probably would have gotten a lot further with my creativity.
Oh, Dysart sounds awful. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, yeah, we're speculating now. I am who I am, and there's no.
Everything should cut there, actually.
Yeah, we're speculating now. I am who I am, and there's no going back.
What a wild alternative life path that goes with that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Ours just stayed in South Texas, which is. Yeah.
Totally.
Ours just stayed in South Texas, which is.
Yeah, its own thing.
Fuck.
Yeah. I almost
Thank
went
God.
to Dallas. That was almost my move, because I wanted to go to a movie town.
At least it's a big city.
Yeah,
At least you
yeah.
would have found.
Dallas thing.
Fuck.
Yeah. I almost
Thank
went
God.
to Dallas. That was almost my move, because I wanted to go to a movie town.
At least it's a big city.
Yeah,
At least you
yeah.
would have found your tribe.
Totally.
Dallas, I assume.
I mean, and I think there's a tribe for you anywhere you go.
Sure, of
Yeah,
course.
like
Even in Corpus. But I definitely, and I do. There are people I love from my South Texas home, and I will never, ever, ever, ever.
Sure. So I was telling you about my current project, and now that you've had a minute to sit with with the idea, I'm doing a movie a day based on the ticket stubs that I've saved over
Yes.
here. I can condense a whole 5-minute section in one sentence if I really try hard.
Yes, but then is it as fun? Wait, one thing. Yes, but then is it as fun? Wait, one thing I think you need. But how it's been? How many years are you covering? How many years did the ticket stubs go?
2004 to 2024. 20-year span.
Decades.
One a day.
Little tiny step to.
No repeats.
Yeah.
I'm looking for interesting angles. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
I'm 3 videos in, and this is a very fluid, very. I'm writing my review into Letterboxd as my starting point.
Okay.
If I were to just only be doing this on Letterboxd, that's my starting point right there, and then I'd use that to write the video that I do from there.
And now, can I ask? Because I'm curious about this. Because I've kind of thought about playing around with a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Because I have so much Letterboxd content over the years. I'm like, how can I turn this into something? Are you? And you can cut this out if you want to keep the process a mystery to others.
Yeah, I'm here to talk about it.
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
Are you reading your Letterboxd? Is that what you're doing? Like, I haven't seen any of them. I'm sorry. Are you kind of off the cuffing based on what you read? Are you using a text drift in front of you?
Oh, yeah. I'm not. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not
Like, how are you
teleprompting.
doing? Yeah,
myself.
teleprompting.
Yeah, I'm not teleprompting myself. So, let's talk about it because I've been through it for 3 days in a row now.
You're an old pro.
Getting there.
Old pro.
Um,
You're an old pro.
getting there. I'll start watching the movie. I need.
Oh yeah, you rewatch, right?
I need the fresh feelings, takes, thoughts. I'm pouring sand in the sandbox. At that point, I watch the movie. I go to Letterboxd to log my thoughts. So I'll take that my just stenographer notes, like not even full sentences. It's just like actor name, one word of the thought, just like really really cursory, and then by the end of it, I'll have an idea of my angle for the review. What do I want to talk
My
about?
angle.
Where do I want to get in? Where do I want to get out? I'm not looking at anybody else's reviews. I'm not looking at stars or Rotten Tomato score or anything like that. I'll write out my review, like one paragraph, and then I'll take that in my notes for the movie, and I will just kind of hit record in OBS, and I'll go. I have a list of my layout, so I know that I want to do a review from my point of view when I was young, a review from my point of view when I was old within the video.
Older.
I want to highlight my favorite aspects. This is not a like critique.
Mm-hmm.
This is more of a like
Awesome
nostalgic.
shit from the movie.
Yeah. Like this popped out to me at that time. This is how it impacted me at that time. This stuff is still gas, or like my feelings have shifted very deeply.
Mm-hmm.
That's the core of the review. When I'm done with that, I will usually go and find like some kind of like viral hook opening or something like that.
Sure.
I'll record an intro afterwards now, so now I know what's gonna happen. I'll record my intro, go through and stitch all that together and make my video, put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's my front to back process right now. I'm the like the ticket stub, the old and young review. Those are like the core ideas, but I think I'm still looking for like sauce to this. You know what I mean? If you were to review only the movies that you've seen in theaters, like that's your theme. I mean, it's lots of shit. I went to see a lot of movies, all over the kind. There's all three Hangover movies are in there, all three, because I saw them in theaters.
Yeah.
But also like some like movies that I haven't seen talked about at all are in this chunk as well. So I'm curious like how you would approach a project like only reviewing the stuff that you've seen as a condensed 1 year look back at your, because from here my hope is to get into feature filmmaking, and this is like a big year-long wrap-up of like,
Yeah.
I love movies, I want to make movies, I'm ready to make movies.
Yeah. Well, and do you mean that in the sense of like you trying to tell the world that, or that you're trying to go through a process of yourself? Like
Great question.
learning
This is a
about
great
what
question.
you love about movies and learning how to talk about them and how to feel and think about them.
I think more the latter. Like, I've never been quiet about wanting to make movies. The very first Film Rescue episode is, we want to do this for real. We don't know how to, so we're just studying movies to figure it out. It's been a 10-year school
Yeah.
of self-learning through that. So I think more the latter.
Yeah. I mean, I can only speak to how I approach Letterboxd, which is not to think about it. You know, I think we talked about on the Lost report. Oh shit! I just lost my thought. This is my brain. What did we talk about in the last one? Oh, we talked about on the Lost recording.
Group. Delete.
on the last recording how I am. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. We talked about previously about how I. We talked about on the how I approach Letterbox, which is not to think about it at all.
Mhm,
You know, I think
mhm.
we talked about on the. We talked about previously about how I can only really write my work,
Mhm.
and everything else is a hobby.
Mhm.
Sadly, sometimes that might even be include my marriage, which Kelly hopefully will never see this, but you know what I mean. Like everything is sort of like all my brain power, and then anything else that happens, my political interests, my reading, everything that isn't associated with that is sort of just kind of hobby, background stuff. And so I approach Letterbox like that, and it's really moved me because I never expected to have as many friends on there as I have, and have such a community. There are some people on there who love to read. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to interact with. I never expected it to be this thing.
Yeah.
And so that's a real testament to how you should just the zen and the art of doing the thing, And then
Yeah.
so we've got an audience, for lack of a better term, or whatever. I don't think it's an audience, but they're friends.
The two have never been separate.
Right.
Audience.
Well, more so now than ever. Maybe
Right.
for those of us that aren't digital natives who made work before the internet, there did feel the same.
Yeah.
But I think now that's true. But so in approaching this project, like what you're talking about, I definitely always saw Letterboxd as just a way for me to exercise thinking about storytelling and fiction, so that I could be even more clear about it in my own work, so that I could gain clarity by
Right.
learning the art of dismantling movies in this instance. But I also do it on Goodreads with virtually for some reason I don't know why Letterboxd took off and the others didn't, but
Yeah.
everywhere I dismantle what I read and what I watch and what I play, and I do that only for selfish reasons. Don't do it for an audience. Sometimes, like Letterboxd, there's an audience, and sometimes there isn't.
Totally.
So that's all. So I'm not fucking thinking about it at all. It's
Yeah.
like just a thing. So I don't really.
No one's grabbing a Die Star quote from Letterboxd to throw in the back of the DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have not yet. I did get a job from it.
Really?
Yeah, which I don't want to talk about yet because it hasn't been announced. But I wrote a booklet for a movie that's going to be out on a Blu-ray. And it all came through Letterboxd.
Sounds cool.
Nice.
That's awesome.
It's cool. I'll tell you when we start recording. And honestly, a Goodreads review that I wrote is now up on the website of the publishers, which is cool too, for a book that I really enjoyed, called Terminal Park. What the fuck was the question? I'm like rambling.
You were going through
There's so much.
the reason for your Letterboxd.
But also, your question was like, what would I do with your
Yeah,
project?
yeah. If you
Yeah,
were,
I don't have any idea. I guess I could have really shut that down fast. I don't know what if I were you, and I guess I would just, because I'm a writer. I'm not yet super comfortable with this, like off the cuff speaking.
Which he's so
What
good at it. That's what's
fear
crazy to
is
me.
If I tried to do that, and I have literally thought about it, I think about it all the time, is that I would just sound like I'm reading my Letterboxd instead of.
why is that an issue?
Oh, Seth, too cutting.
Why?
Are you allowed to ask questions like that? I really like putting people on the spot. I really like it.
Is it boring? I don't know.
Well,
Is it uninteresting?
my argument back would be, I have a really hard time getting people cross-platform.
Yeah.
Getting people to go from my TikTok to subscribe to the YouTube, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Is not happening.
Yeah.
I imagine whoever is going to watch, if you were to make the videos,
Yeah.
whoever's going to watch them is probably not going to your Letterboxd.
Right.
So
Right.
this is fresh to them.
Yeah. That I understand, and that's kind of why I want to do it. Like, I
Right.
like the idea because and also I just made so much fucking content there that like I should do something with
You could almost do this same project from the back end, going through your letterbox list and making videos for each one.
Yeah.
You know, just a short little
Oops.
box list. Do the same
With it,
you could almost do this same project from the back end, going through your letterbox list and making videos for each one.
Yeah.
You know, just a short little.
But you know what I would like, because it's just you speaking into it, right? You don't go in and cut images from the movies and stuff, right?
I do.
Okay, because I would like to do that.
Yeah. I'm doing a little more than I had initially thought about when I started. I do.
It's you speaking into it, right? You don't go in and cut images from the movies and stuff, right?
I do.
Okay, because I would like to do that.
I'm doing a little more than I had initially thought about when I started this. So to continue my process, I'm doing multiple cuts of each review. So I'm doing like a short 2-minute version that I can put out on like Instagram and YouTube. People's attention to follow a YouTube want to get into visual media as like kind of a tongue-in-cheek, candidly, and like I could do an insert for that, right? But I'm not doing all of that. I am still doing like cutting on my ums and ahs and doing jump cuts and push-ins and like let me show you one. This one. Cuts and push-ins and like let me show you one.
This is where I take a potty break.
If you were to be on my now you've seen it.
Okay.
Now you get the idea.
Now you've seen it.
I think doing just voiceover to a trailer, that could be a cool way to do it. I think
Now look at this chunk I get to cut out. Ungroup, delete, ripple delete, regroup. Now let's see how that cuts out. Let's watch this jump.
still doing like cutting on my ums and ahs and doing jump cuts and push-ins and like doing just voiceover to a trailer. That could be a cool way to do it. I don't think you have to.
Like the bathroom break never happened.
Video aspect.
And I don't imagine
Video aspect.
And I can't imagine myself ever, being. This is why I feel like TikTok isn't the right place for this. I don't know if this is what we want to talk about, but whatever. We're doing it.
Whatever, we're doing it.
Because I can't imagine that. I mean, I have no problems. I would totally do Joel Schumacher's Phantom of the Opera if that came across my plate. But I would also want to do, like the one that I'm thinking about right now is maybe trying the first one with the discrete charm of the bourgeoisie. Like something a little bit that people don't really give a fuck about.
Yeah. No.
That I love, but others,
My thing, my like approach to this has been, I have to sift through discouraging ideas, right? Part of my process is like looking at the list of movies and seeing shit in there like the RoboCop remake and going, "There's no way I'm gonna watch that again. I don't want to watch that. That'll make a bad video. It won't get any views." But I've got all those thoughts. The challenge becomes, how do I talk about something I don't want to talk about in a way that's engaging to me? Because that's how I'll get people back on board, right? If I engage myself, that's authentic. That'll pull people back in. But then linking ideas within the central core idea that you're going after, the movie you want to talk about, to current things is all you need to make it relevant again. You have your experience with the movie. That's why people are going to want to show up. Your writing goal within that review, or my writing goal.
It's so fun to talk esoterically with another writer, because I don't have to be dumb in kindergarten about it. I can talk about a larger idea that applies to what he's talking about without one-to-oneing everything.
Right now, because his show The Good Doctor is getting clipped out, just clipped to hell on TikTok. So everybody's algorithm has a Good Doctor clip in it from time to time. time. I get a chance to talk about Freddie Highmore because of Finding Neverland. That's my like, I'm making these little elbows, right, to link back. That if I were to do what you want to do, that's how I would do it. Take the your movie as the example. When you reviewed it, if you want to talk about that initially, or if you just want to talk about its place now, like why to visit, because I think that was a big reason our best of the year episodes always did so well with you, is because you would come in with these like not the normal lineup of movies.
Did they do well?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. I just thought we were hanging out by ourselves. That's awesome. How exciting.
And that's my attitude towards any podcast that I make, is like, I'm gonna watch back through this.
Yeah.
And that's all it's for.
Yeah,
It's for me to watch back
That's
through.
how I see it.
When I would revisit an episode and be like, oh wow, like 100 people downloaded that in the first day. Okay, all right,
Wow,
we're talking to
that's cool.
somebody. I think that as your angle would be interesting.
Wait,
That's
what was the angle? Why did we do well?
you are presenting things that nobody's talking about as your angle would be interesting.
Wait,
That's
what was the angle? Why did we do well?
you are presenting things that nobody's talking about, and you have the ability to present them in a way that is current and why we should talk about them.
So succinct. Sum up everything I just said in a single sentence. That's so funny.
Like make it interesting. This is something to explore. You're just the tour guide going like,
Yeah.
if you go down this way,
Yeah.
you're gonna see something interesting because you've been down that way. You
Yeah.
can talk about it.
Okay.
That's what I would like if I wanted to see content from you. That's what I would want to see. It's like, what? Tell me about a movie that I've never seen and why I should want to watch it. I'm gonna add it to my list to watch.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I definitely want to try it. I don't have that much. I mean, we've already discussed my issues with my confidence, but at least with comic books, I'm taking comics for.
Yeah.
Miss Psycho Kitty, hi.
Lack of
Hi.
confidence is-
Welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're here. What are you up to today? I'm cutting an interview with a comic book writer, Josh Dysart, and it's very, very long, and so I just figured I'd stream the whole thing. And I always talk to the people in the chat, because if you're here, I'd rather chat with you than scream at Adobe Premiere the whole time. That's how I feel. One bevy down. One bevy to go. Psycho Kitty! Piss pissay! I apologize. I'm sorry. I can't not do Weird Al lyrics to songs when there's like, FYI, also drinking wine. Oh, not a wine Saturday. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. What kind? Red or white? Maybe Miss Psycho Kitty's a pink girly. Psycho Kitty drinks her wine. Meow, 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 meow. Run, 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 run. Because that's what cats do all night. They just won't stop running. Always red. Okay, are you a dry person or no? And also, are you a fruity red or no? Because I don't like dry and I don't like not fruity. I basically want it as close to Welch's as possible. That's dry, yes. See, you probably have a more expanded palate than I do. If it tastes like grape juice, I'm happy. And then white, I'll go a little dry with the white wine. I don't mind a dry white wine, especially if I'm having fish. Oh,
But I don't have a lot of confidence speaking on. You know, there's this. It's a new skill set that digital natives are better at, and that my generation either has put the time into or has this ability to talk at the camera.
Yeah.
And have an
Well,
engaging voice and
I'm streaming regularly right now, so if you want to subscribe, I stream when I edit just to keep myself accountable, and I like to do body doubling. So, you know, if you're working on a fish except salmon. Oh, you just haven't had good salmon yet then. Because I feel you. I hated salmon for a long, long, long time, but salmon's really easy to overcook and turn bad, and I have learned to cook good salmon, and I've learned that I actually do like salmon when it's cooked in a specific way. I used to be the same way with chicken. I hated white meat until I started cooking my own chickens and figured out that I could make like juicy, tender white meat, and then I was like, oh, actually, I kind of dig white meat. I might be a white meat guy.
You know, there's a lot of really terrible examples of it. I mean, there's the TikTok speak and all that
Right,
shit. That
right.
It's like, oh my god, that person is like not being authentic. They've like generated this way of talking specifically so they can edit or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is a way.
Yeah, you can ask where I'm from. I'm from... Okay, are you asking where I am now or where I'm from originally? Let me follow up. If you're asking where I'm from the East Coast, originally from West Virginia, and I spent most of my 20s in Baltimore. So I claim Baltimore. But currently, you're from Iowa. I've been to Iowa. I played a show in Iowa back in 2016, 2015, something like that. Iowa went off. I was stage diving at that show. Those kids, they were hungry for some rock music, man.
There is a kind of authenticity.
But yeah, now I'm on the West Coast in LA.
Yeah.
Which
So
is a skill set I don't.
currently LA, previously Baltimore,
Either
West Virginia boy.
or I'm either too slow or too fast. That's what I feel like whenever I look at myself.
I see. And I get those concerns. I think
I may be fixated.
and like that fixation can keep you from seeing the forest for the trees, right? And like, I hate to break it to you, all those interviews I watched last night, I was watching at 1.5 speed. So your speed, like truly, you're not even in control of it at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going no, because I need to listen to a 45-minute thing in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's my thought is like.
I mean, it's actually quite liberating. The idea that people are going to listen.
Quite
to
liberating.
They're
Yeah.
most jacked up too. You
Yeah,
know?
there are some people. My good buddy Movie Bob, I can't listen to his stuff.
Never been to California or the West Coast. Oh, you gotta come out. Oh, Miss Psycho Kitty. Especially because the Midwest is a little flat. It's a little flat. You will not believe the topography and what that does for how beautiful a place can be until you get to the West Coast. So initially, I moved out to the PNW, so I was up in the Portland, Oregon area, and first of all, that place is gorgeous, and I was blown away by how pretty that area was. Now that I've migrated down south, I'm in the desert functionally. California, I drove the whole way from Northern California, drove all the way to LA, Southern California. I could have stopped anywhere. The whole place was gorgeous. Oh, I love it here. The hills are mountains, and so the mountains are like enormous. It's beautiful scenery on the horizon at all times. I love it. Always wanted to go to Vegas. I've been to the airport in Vegas, and that's it. I had a layover there one time, and we stopped through. Vegas looked cool. It was the middle of the night, and it was a long layover, and all I remember is they had smoking sections, so I could actually walk into a little, like, glass booth in the airport and smoke. It was kind of cool. I liked it.
Fast because he talks fast.
It made me feel like the zoo creature.
He's shooting through it, so I have to change my YouTube settings anytime he pops on. But then I've got other people that I'll listen to that Sam Cedar. Oh my God, I put that man on 2.0. Just like, come, let's get to it, baby.
Yeah.
I
mean, the way I mean, this is, you know, all these fucking leftist, progressive people. One,
Psycho killer.
I'm so tired
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
I know it's all
Ba,
different.
ba,
Big Goose,
ba,
the
ba,
YouTube
ba,
algorithm
ba.
is hyperbolic. And Trump is so embarrassed, or whatever the fuck. I hate all that shit. I generally only click on them so I can skip to whatever clips they've pulled out.
Yeah.
So I don't even watch Sam talk.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just immediately get to whatever clip he's done the effort and the work to pull out from
Fair.
wherever, you know. And
Fair.
yeah, that's literally the only way I get to that shit.
Yeah, I don't know. And especially if you
Ba,
if
ba,
you
ba,
cut the
ba,
camera out
ba,
entirely, just do
ba.
the voice aspect. I feel like that's
Yeah.
much more controllable for you.
Yeah.
And then you can read instead of teleprompting.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not even teleprompting. I'm just if I
But I don't want it to sound, you know. I'm so sorry there's so much in this podcast now. It's just fucking trying to troubleshoot something. But I don't want it to sound like I'm reading. But I also don't want it to be fake. I don't know.
Yeah,
Fake.
Yeah. How do you? That's your. I guess your personal journey is like the
Yeah.
authenticity
I
within.
started
that.
a thing that you're now going to have to fucking sit here. It's very short because I didn't finish it.
He didn't send it to me, by the way. He did not send it to me after I even asked for it, and he was like, "No," and I was like, "Bitch, I'm gonna cut this out of the podcast."
I started a thing where I was like gonna try my 15 favorite 15 favorite Baroque rock songs of the 2020s.
Okay.
So hitting each one relatively fast, and then I hated it.
Because listicles are like.
I'm gonna be wine drunk.
I was kind of like, yes and no. I mean, I abandoned it because one, I think maybe to get it done, because I was like, just fucking do.
Any supervisor openings you know of out there by chance? Not that I'm looking, but maybe looking. Hey, I mean, I'm actually in the middle of job searching myself right now. I feel you. Supervisory stuff? Yeah, absolutely. The LA Indeed job board is pretty poppin'. I'm a remote worker as much as I can be, so I'm kind of unconcerned with where my job ends up being. But yeah, supervisory work, there's lots of it out here. Cost of living's a little higher, but that also makes pay a little better. And here's the thing about cost of living in California that they don't talk about. It's expensive to be a car owner, but it's not super expensive to live here in general. And everything, like it's 180 plus cities all clustered together, so everything you need is walkably close to you. Like I can walk to my gym, I can walk to food, I can walk to grocery stores, I can walk to post office and shopping and if I can't, there's trains and buses and all that kind of stuff. So like this city's set up to be lived in and not particularly driven in, because again, it's all mountains, so not only is gas expensive, but you're using more than you would normally because it's not flat to drive on. So I've tried to back off of driving as much as I can. Soup for utility company. Oh yeah, you could get work out here, guaranteed. If you have like a hard skill like that, totally, you've got it.
Do it. Like put your hours into talking to the phone and find your voice. And
Do your
you know what I mean?
reps.
Put your fucking hours. Do your reps, and
Yeah.
you get there. Right?
Yeah.
And so
Do your reps. That's
do
it.
your reps, man. So I just went out one day, got super high. I already knew which songs I wanted to talk about. And got super high and went out and did it. And then when I started
Cedar
putting it together, it
Rapids.
was a lot of me fucking jacked up walking and talking at the phone, and it seemed.
How deep are we into this wine, though?
Sure.
I'll show
It's not something you would watch.
Not like that. I think I would watch that content, and I might even watch that person delivering the content, but not constructed in that way.
Yeah.
Not like that. I didn't care for it.
Sure.
I'll show
Sure.
it to you.
It's not something you would watch.
Not like that. I think I would watch that content, and I might even watch that person delivering the content, not.
He's talking about himself here.
Yeah. Because that is a whole genre on TikTok. That just walk and talk camera people.
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I let Kelly influence me too much because Kelly was.
Genre on TikTok. That just walk and talk camera people.
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I let Kelly.
I was to work for my company, proud to work for my company until they sold me off to a brand new company out of the blue. 2 bottles in! Psycho Kitty. Oh my god. That's deep in it. You're swimming. I feel that. Actually, I worked for a HR company back in Baltimore. The reason I'm out on the West Coast now, they moved me out to take over late night hours, so anything after 5 p.m. Eastern, and then they got bought out by lawyer Nazis, and I was like, I don't want to work for these people. Deuces. And I quit. Yeah, I used to be really proud of working for who I worked for. Yeah, no, I feel you. I think you made a wise decision. If you're not digging, it's like getting traded as a athlete or something. Unless it was your choice, that's no fun.
Influenced me too much because Kelly was like, "It's too busy. The background's too busy." I was like,
Well, and a lot of what they do is it's highly edited. They're cutting just to like the best sentences that they can construct.
I'm trying to do that. I tend to be.
Good for
not
you.
quite
Oh,
as
thank
tight.
you.
But still a little.
Proud of you.
Some of the people that I see
Listen,
are very like, you get a second or two at a time. That's really how they're stringing things together. And
then it starts to be where they're like building that rhythm, and so if they do say a lot of cool shit in one thing, they still kind of have to cut it just to keep the rhythm.
Yeah.
Which is not a trap I want to fall into.
Exactly.
If I say 15 seconds of cool shit, I don't want to have to.
No! What's going on? Oh no, did my internet fall off? I bet it did. Sorry, stream fell off for a minute. I'm on a bad Wi-Fi card. Unfortunately.
To have to cut,
Right.
I mean, just so that there's a staccato rhythm.
my initial goal for this project was to do. My initial goal for this project was to do 2-minute long reviews, and that's it, hard 2 minutes. And then I found myself going, I want to talk more.
Yeah, that would be
I have more thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'll do my 2-minute cut as just like the clip to put out, and then I still get my 6 or 7 minute where I go a little more at length and I don't cut as often. And you can see even in my edit the jokes, the push-ins, all the extras are at the beginning and the end, and then it kind of it levels out in the middle where it's like, yeah, I'm just talking about my thoughts here. You came to the YouTube video for that. That's the heart of the content. Because I agree, you can optimize to hell and get millions of views and not say fucking shit. Really, truly, just not say anything.
Yes.
And then you can talk at length without cutting at all and totally lose people because it's stream of consciousness. And that's important to you in the moment, but you're not, like you're saying, you're not putting emphasis in the right places. You're not wiggling your eyebrows enough.
Oh no, it's not choppy, is it?
So there has to be.
Why are you choppy? Come on. Come on.
Be a place in between the two.
Yeah.
It's another spectrum, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to fall closer towards the unedited side, but still
Damn.
going, I'm still going to cut, and I'm still going to tool a little bit. But in general, I do want that more natural rhythm of, let me get 3 sentences out before I cut. Let me say 3 solid ideas before I actually get in, and I'll leave a couple ums and ahs in there. because that's okay. That's how we talk.
Yeah. One thing, because I'm more of a writer.
One
I
thing.
think speaking, especially speaking into the camera, is analogous to like a jazz musician. Right? Like,
Yeah.
They've got their ideas and your concepts and your bullet points, but you're going.
Yep.
Which is not, I think, my strongest skill set, because I can ramble, get pretty fucking lost in the weeds. My strongest skill set is writing, crafting a sentence that's engaging, that leads to another engaging sentence that collectively creates synergistic meaning. So I think what I want to kind of play with maybe is not reading so much as like reading it and then trying to say it.
Right.
And wherever I fuck up is where these cuts go and stuff. And I don't have to memorize it, but I'm also not trying to. That's kind of how I want to maybe create a combination of both crafted review, but also some authenticity in the speech, so that it's not.
I think that I'm bullet pointing for those kinds of
Booty
things.
boots and cats and boots and boots and cats and boots and boots and boots and cats and boots and boots and cats. I'm still here because I'm good at my job. I seem to not do anything with my college diploma crap, so gotta hang on to what I know, right? I bet you are good at your job. I bet you're very good at your job. What's your diploma in? What did you go to school for? Off my feet.
And then keep rolling and run from there. So then I do get okay, this is the beginning of that bullet. This is a hard set thing that I want to be said. But now the next 30 seconds after that I get to kind of dish for a second.
Yeah.
And then when I feel I've run out, I just stop talking within my recording. I'm not gonna hit pause or stop recording. I just stop talking and then I go back to my notes and I go, what's my next bullet point?
Yeah.
Let me read that, be able to say that sentence exactly as I want it, because especially in writing for the internet, the way you phrase something makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. Yes, of course. I mean, a text that is meant to be read versus text that is spoken.
Exactly.
We deal with this.
I keep missing the shifts in conversation.
Yes, of course. I mean, a text that is meant to be read versus text that is spoken.
Exactly.
Pardon.
We deal with this a lot in comic books. You know, there was, particularly around the time that the Snyder Watchmen movie, there was a lot of big deal being made about the fact that they were lifting directly the text from the balloons and placing them into the mouths of the actors. And to my mind, and I know the movie has, I love it, and I totally understand what is interesting about it. But to my mind, particularly when it comes to dialogue, it's a disaster. And because a balloon.
The dialogue in Watchmen is the only bad part of the movie, if you ask me. Like, I love the visual execution of that movie. The casting's fantastic. The costumes are absolutely fucking nuts. And I don't know where that went, because everything he did after that, the costumes have been trash. The Flash's costume, Zack Snyder's Flash's costume, sucks. But all the Watchmen stuff is so good. But I agree with Josh. That dialogue is yucky.
On the comic page is a graphic element that exists in as part of using graphics to communicate ideas and concepts. So it's not even like reading text in a book. It's something else entirely. It's an extremely unique idea and concept, and you can get away. Sometimes comics are made fun of because of this, but you can get away with having very simple concepts communicated in a balloon or a caption but when put into the synergistic whole of the page, have a lot of power. Get the job done. Very simple, very clean. You know what they're doing, you know what they're talking about, and they're still be emotion and intellectual, interest in the page. But the minute you put that into a living actor's mouth.
Okay, the audio's still good on this stream, but it is choppy. The visuals are choppy. I don't know why. Streamlabs is fucking with me. Honestly, next time I stream, I'm gonna shift it from a 4K down to, or a 2K, whatever I'm outputting, down to 1080p. I can still record in 2K without outputting that, so the YouTube videos will still look good if you're watching this there.
Also of me reading my fucking reviews Letterboxd, which are designed to be read and not read aloud.
Yeah. You'd be adapting yourself for the screen. That's interesting.
To make, because you're it's an interesting thing where you want authenticity.
Yeah.
Because you
interesting.
To make, because it's an interesting thing where you want authenticity.
Yeah.
Between you and the person. It's not just me. Even though these are the concepts and the ideas of the so I just have to figure out how to do that, not sound stiff, and have it be not.
11 years here at my job now. School started out with medical for 3 years, then switched to graphic tech degree, graphics web design. Wow, that's crazy. No, and I feel you on that too. I was in psych. I started my master's. I did not finish my master's. I got my bachelor's and went for my master's and quit in psych and switched to filmmaking and social media, and never regretted that change at all. So, and neither of those are related to working utilities. If you've stuck it out at that job, you have to at least like your coworkers, right? Do you like your coworkers, Miss Psycho Kitty?
And not a mimicry of authenticity.
Right.
Like something actually.
I'm sorry the video's choppy. I don't know why it's doing that.
I have a question about the comic end. Because as a filmmaker, the temporal nature of a scene or a shot or a line of dialogue or whatever is kind of based on the amount of time it takes to execute it. Like it's kind of real time.
Yes.
There are tricks to condense, there are tricks to expand, but like you're constrained by the fact that someone will be watching this. Whereas a comic book, let's use Watchmen as an example, some of the final panels, I understand, are meant to be seen as like a slice of a moment. There's a single balloon with like 2 words in it, and the temporal nature of that chunk versus an expositional, line of dialogue in a bubble. I'm understanding the image behind that bubble to be temporally longer.
You're also typing really well for being 2 bottles in. I would be nothing but typos right now.
Writing is that how informed is the page?
Could not finish because of the cadavers. Yeah, that's fair. Love your Yeah, see, I figured you're one of those people that like really love your coworkers to stick around that long.
I see this as 2 questions, right?
Okay, yeah.
Or as 2 things to discuss. The first one is temporal nature. I mean, they're obviously related, but I want to take them separately. You are 100% correct in identifying time as maybe our most powerful and unique tool in comics, and that we use it in a way, other than visuals, obviously, and that we use it in a way no other medium does. So the fascinating thing about time in comics is that the reader is in control of it, not the creators. We have a lot of things we can do to manipulate that, but a movie is dictatorial. It's coming at you 24 frames a second or 40 frames a second or whatever, but the movie makers are deciding how you experience time, and barring you pausing it and rewinding it, there is not going to be any way that you are going to control that time.
Sure.
To a lesser degree, but basically the same gist is a novel. Like it's word after word after word. It's a dense forest of words. You can flip back a page. But you're not positioned in time in a way that gives you full control over time. But a comic book reader can spend as much fucking time as they like on a single panel, or they can burn through it.
Yeah.
So you've got to utilize these tools. And one thing that comics don't have that impact the way we use time is motion, right? So motion and time are
Oh, I love the way he talks about writing comics.
interrelated in physics, and so we're going to have to play with that a lot. So to your point, when Watchmen does a big splash page at the end of the bodies scattered everywhere, the thing that the movie was not courageous enough to do, even though it fetishized violence the whole time, and when it came time for violence to be the point, Zack Snyder backed off because he's not an intellectual filmmaker, he's a visual filmmaker. So understand. So, but that's supposed to be a moment that we live in. It's a full page splash. The clock is up here. The blood's coming down. There's bodies, and we can live in that moment as long as we like. And the comic is asking you to stay there. Now, one thing the human mind does is it very often glances over images we find in comics without text placement very quickly, and that is why you will see a lot of times a tiny word or like some text that doesn't really achieve much except to catch the eye. Like stop, I want you to see this, right? So you will stop on text. We very often glance through silent panels very quickly. Not every reader, but generally that's the case. Versus the way that we depict time when you have a lot of smaller panels that are actually almost...
I hate sales, and this is one position that I did not care about sales taking advantage of customers. Well, I mean, everybody needs a utility, right? Like you're not upselling someone to like electricity plus. Here's your plumbing plus, and if we ever get there, you should quit because that's fucking awful. But yeah, that totally makes sense. I used to do sales for Best Buy, and I liked it because I like electronics, but I hated the upselling. If somebody walks in and they say they want a 32-inch Sony, I'm not going to try to sell them a 55-inch Samsung. But my boss wanted me to do that and try to get him a credit card and all that. And it's like, no, they wanted to spend $200. Let me just get their $200. Jesus.
Or I can have, one single panel of a dude, I don't know, on his knee proposing to a person, and then the next panel they could have kids in a house and babies crying. And this is massive compressions of time. Obviously, film gets to do this with the cut, but we have a lot more power. We also have a lot less storytelling wasted. And so we have to really be judicious with the way we use that power. It is exciting to me to do. Really, if you read the Akira comics, there is an amazing, exciting motorcycle chase very early on in the series that eats about 25 pages. Right? It's essentially real-time comics. I could never do that.
Those Akira books are long.
A market like Japan, where people buy comics and so they can afford to make longer series. You know what I mean? The market supports this. Where it doesn't here.
Go daddy, go daddy, go. Go daddy, go daddy, go. I remember when they first became a company, they had a Super Bowl commercial, and it rewired my young brain. I was like, what is GoDaddy.com? And I had to find out. I had to know. I think I bought my first website through GoDaddy.
So I've got to be extremely judicious with time. And that sort of also touches on your second thing about dialogue rules in relation to text. 100%, the thing you're thinking about all the time is your text.
Sears photographer! Yo! Okay, I had a band back in Baltimore, and we did Christmas photos at a Sears as a band to, like, put out. It was so fun. I enjoyed it so much. You are a fucking nerd. Psycho Kitty. You are a fucking nerd. But that's a badge of honor thing. Like, it's not like being a chump, right? Nerds aren't chumps anymore. I think nerds used to be chumps. I think there was an era where nerds were chumps. Now, being nerdy is like, that's a good thing.
Wow. Okay.
And so if you're going to have a lot of words on a page, you're going to
Dance with Bob Parson. I don't know who Bob Parson is. Where's your head at? Extreme Golf. Yo, that's fun. Oh, the GoDaddy guy. Okay, that makes sense. I had no idea. I had no idea.
to be very careful with that, very precise.
You're welcome.
With how you're going to manage them, and it's a creative choice.
You're a flirty drunk, aren't you?
Want a comic that's intensely textually dense or image dense, and you're going to fight that fight on every page.
Yeah.
And what we call the story of the page, or how the page starts, how the page ends, what's accomplished on that page, is the text information, and how much time that page spends. So there's a lot that you're dealing with.
I asked him a really intense question. That's crazy. Where's your head at? Maybe you're a flirty drunk. That's the flirtiest way to answer that. Not a yes or a no.
Cinema implicitly
I see you.
inherently deals with it. It doesn't quite take as much.
I see you.
Yeah. I'm thinking specifically of a 2-page panel, I think, from Open to Eye,
Oh,
where
It's his comic.
you had it's early on. Our protagonist is launched into her adventure, and we're understanding this is a long journey that she's going on. And there's a montage panel almost where we're seeing the storytelling that's happening on their campfires, and I think it's even mentioned that the story's been told a couple times, but it's evolving tonight. And this is over a page where the boxes are set back behind the movement of our caravan to show this long passage of time, where you're essentially doing the same thing would be the montage in 13th Warrior where Antonio Banderas learns to speak Norse.
I've not seen the 13th Warrior, which is crazy because the writings that the 13th Warrior is based on, the real writings,
Yeah.
the actual Romans.
Where's your head at?
Only outside observer of the preacher man and Norse tribes from that period that we have I read all his writings, and I've not seen the 13th Warrior, which I do definitely want to see. It looks like a fucking cool movie. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Is it a bad thing? No. Oh my god. Here's the rankings. Flirty drunks, funny drunks, quiet drunks. I don't drink much, so I'm not really that drunks. And then you have angry drunks at the bottom. And I will not interact with those people. I'll leave a party if there's angry drunks. Deuces. I'm not sitting around that. I hate an angry drunk. Get the fuck away from me. I drink to relax. Why are you angry right now? You didn't deal with what's in your heart before you went drinking? That's on you.
Viewers will understand.
I love a flirty drunk.
Yeah, that you're able to achieve the same idea of a montage sequence in both, but the execution of you get a montage.
Not a bad thing.
That's
Not that I'm a flirty drunk.
Right.
I'm definitely a flirty
Well, that
drunk.
way and that's one of the rare places where storytelling real estate behooves. And we
10-minute chunk of the movie.
Right. Well, in that way and that's one of the rare places where storytelling real estate behooves.
Where's your head at?
What's interesting, there's another element that's interesting there. It's not just about how we're dealing with time. It's also about how I'm dealing with theme in that one.
Yeah,
Because Odin's Eye is
About storytelling. Yep.
It's about the stories we tell ourselves, and it's about how I arrived when I began to become fascinated with stories and humanity's stories. I began to see how culture and race were illusions.
Yeah.
You know, because ultimately we have been telling ourselves the same fucking stories. You can follow human migration based on these human stories. And I think in other podcasts I've spoken about this a lot. And so what I wanted to, because the story is a story about the way human beings tell stories, every time there's a story or a song or something, which does happen a lot in Odin's Eye, we transpose on top of their experience. It's important to me to create like a layered experience where there's a reality and then there's the story. And so that's also a way that we approach the page construction. So it's not just about time.
What if your partner is a flirty drunk? I would prefer my partner to be a flirty drunk. Yeah, no, totally. And like if I'm in a relationship and I'm drinking, we're flirting with each other nonstop. Like that's the most fun. That's the most fun. Because like the inhibitions of caring what other people think are gone. And they're flirty and they're like flirting with you because they're drinking. I'm gonna goof. I'm gonna get goofy and have a goofy good time. How do you deal with a flirty drunk partner? Are you into that? Is that for you?
It's also about theme, and I want the reader.
Crying, not crying, crying. Well, you are 2 bottles in, so anything I say is going to be even more emotionally impactful. I feel you, but yes, please. If you're with someone and they don't like a flirty, drunk partner, probably either don't drink with them or leave your husband. Truly. You gotta support your partner. Just like all out, go in 100%.
Unconsciously, not to intellectualize it, but unconsciously be aware that, oh, something about this story is important to the story about the story. It sounds fractal. It sounds
Right,
fractal,
right.
But yeah.
The circles and the circles. The circles and the circles.
Yeah.
Odin sacrificed his eye,
Yeah.
a circle, for power.
Well, depends on the translation.
Sure.
The most popular translation is that he sacrifices it for wisdom. But you could there is also a translation in which he sacrifices him for the country.
Oh, interesting. That is cool. So, what would you sacrifice your eye for? That is cool. So, what would you sacrifice your eye for?
We won, right?
7-Eleven. What an anniversary. Oh my god. I love that. I love that. Every year I would go get a slushie on my anniversary if that was my anniversary. Also, congratulations.
I guess it would have to be something really annoyingly altruistic, fucking bad. World peace or something. I don't know.
World peace.
World peace.
Do you think a world peace is a world worth living in?
That was a weird question, Seth. Oh no. Are we falling off again? Wait. 7-Eleven will be 20 years of what? I misread your chat then. My bad. I thought you were married. I thought you were saying you had been married since 7-Eleven of 2020 or 2005. But I've misunderstood. What's the significance of 7-Eleven 20 years? Or is that how old you're going to be? Where's your head at?
Yeah. I don't think it's something the species is capable of. And maybe even the universe is.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, entropy is something we're probably never going to conquer.
Yeah.
So that's going to cause harm. Challenges peace and obviously resource management. We have a better chance of conquering resource management. I mean, these things obviously shake up
Yeah.
societies and humanity, but I think that I think if there was world peace, if for whatever it is in the human animal that drives us to not work together, I think it'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I do. It'd be fucking great. I mean, I really believe, if we took all our resources and we really all 100%, because it only takes like 5% of us being a dick to fuck it all up. But if 100% we went into some kind of post-scarcity resource management situation where we all just died from old age and we all helped each other and we had a global energy grid that ignored borders and all this shit. Yeah, it'd be fucking dope. Yeah, it would be worth living in. Totally. Yeah, we would still have hardships. You'd still love someone who doesn't love you. You know, all
Right.
the sources of poetry
Right.
would still be there, except for war. You know, which is a lame source of poetry. Take it
Yeah.
from somebody who's written a lot of war books. War's awful, you know, so I would rather our struggles be unrequited love, and it sucks to get old, and you know, these kinds of things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So a world peace is a post-war species,
Post-war, post-class.
post-class,
Because
a post-war species,
post-war, post-class.
post-class,
Because
post-
class is a big issue.
post-scarcity.
Post-scarcity. All the things we
made
fight
enough.
over.
Yeah.
Post-ego.
What do we lose? Do we lose our humanity? Do we lose our ego? Are we?
I think
Are we
they're.
talking about a different thing when we're talking about a peaceful world where their only issues are dealing with entropy? I feel like that's maybe not even a human.
I think no. I think that obviously there are aspects of ego that have value,
Yeah.
like when you value yourself.
Sure.
So
Enough to
that
love
you're-
yourself.
Yeah, precisely, so that you're not harming yourself, and also often people who don't value themselves harm others around them. So that's a good thing not to do.
Absolutely.
I think so. What I'm talking about when I say post-ego is I'm talking about that again and again and again, this species, for whatever reason, we could write whether it's an exterior reason or some sort of interior reason, we allow people with out of control fucking egos into positions of power, and then those people kick holes in the roof.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's what I'm talking. That is where we would have to address.
I think this is where I ask him a
So they
really
can-
good question.
Like a healthy relationship to it.
Yeah.
Like we can value the ego. The ego doesn't. Your ego, you can't seek to dominate another person's ego.
Yeah.
Now that's when it gets fucking tricky.
We need to agriculturalize our egos.
Yeah,
To farm
I love that.
instead.
That's it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, exactly. You know.
Our digital Mesopotamia for learning how to deal with our spiritual farms.
Yes. You know, I think this is a terrible example. I generally don't, but there is some value in this. Animals have an ego.
I'm
up
a
to the point that they,
psychopath.
you know, depending on whether they're animals or not, they try to dominate. That's an expression of ego. They'll
Yeah,
try
yeah.
to, they'll try to control resources. That's an expression of ego. They'll territory. That's an expression of ego. But also, when an animal is dying or when their ego is threatened, the only harm they cause is within range of their claws and their teeth. When a man's ego is harmed, depending on how much power they've acquired in the species socially, they can literally kick holes in the world.
Yeah.
Literally. Like, we have a person currently in power who is disrupting markets, causing, so we've given too much to the ego. I'm not even sure we need to work on it. Yeah, we've just given too much to the ego. The ego has too much power.
Yeah. I don't know how we got over here, and I'm happy to be over here.
We're gonna edit. It's gonna fucking seem awesome. We're gonna take out like 2 hours of us talking about TikTok.
Right.
No,
Our light just shut off behind you, finally.
no.
Our light just shut off behind you, finally, too. I knew it was gonna happen eventually.
Isn't it plugged in?
It is plugged in.
How
Yeah.
the fuck is it just overheats?
I guess it just gets to a point where it wants to quit.
I mean, me too.
You know.
But not yet.
No.
But do we? I mean, is
No,
it a problem?
I'm still. You're key lit. I just
Okay,
there's no
okay.
background light on you. Power corrupts. Absolutely.
On group. Delete that little chunk. And then group again. Oh, of course the stream's running rough. Oh, of course it's running rough. I'm 42. I know I'm old. Sorry, I have 3 kids. Why are you sorry? Shut up. What? That's the progression of time. Ain't nobody can do nothing about that. 40s is a great age to be, too. Are you kidding me? I'm in my mid-30s. My 20s were rough. I got a lot of shit done. I did a lot of living, but oh, you subscribed. Thanks, Psycho Kitty. Oh, come flirt with me anytime. Listen, I like him a little older. All I'm saying. Congratulations on your kids, and being a parent. I think that's amazing. That's a way bigger dream than marriage. Marriage would be nice, right? But like kids, that's the future. Yeah, what are you sorry about? What you on about, governor?
Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely.
Did you make that up? That's good.
I think about power and leadership often, specifically around like exploring masculinity and exploring our functions within our communities, and like leadership is such a necessary thing, and it seems so intrinsically linked to power. Like I can see the formula of the answer. You promote people into leadership that don't want power. How do you enforce and make that not only like a conscious thing that we choose, but like a societal understanding and a feeling of like, my whole life I've been able to identify bosses that should not have been bosses, right? Like that, and I think a lot of us can do that, but don't have the vocabulary to be like, you're a bad leader because you wanted power and now you have it and you're abusing it. And go big scale, we have one guy with all this power that there's no way to like extract and take it back from him, where he's proven himself to be a bad leader, and he's got like a very vocal minority that think he's not a bad leader.
I have so much to say, but don't know where to start. Thank you.
Take his name off of it, put his actions on a board, and look at him and say that's bad leadership.
You'll never meet another person like me. My opinions are always not what people would assume, and that it can be intense. It can be a lot. I apologize.
And I think we intrinsically understand that, but how do we start to build a society where we go, we do not elect people that want power?
I'm not sure we can. I think so, but
So
could
wait,
be a
you wanted the
workaround.
world peace earlier. You wanted the world peace earlier.
Oh, you asked me what I would give. Oh, you asked me what I would give my eye for. That was already a hypothetical.
I would love to just cut this gap out. Oh, that's right. They're all grouped. My bad. My B. off my feet. Dee 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 dee.
But I think there's a workaround. Like there's definitely some aspects of human nature that were encoded into us over 10,000 years of evolution. That this new, brand new fucking spanking society that we've been living in for maybe, let's say, since the Industrial Revolution, if we're being kind. It's
Sure.
like an infinitesimal amount of our evolutionary period. So we don't have the fucking tools for it. But we have tools for a lot of shit that doesn't matter. Right? So, and we can't shake that. That's just who we are. You are, we are. So I think there's some workarounds. One is, we thought this country had a better system of checks and balances so that power like this could never really come into play.
Yeah.
But it turned out that was really kind of more vibes than law, right?
Totally.
So that turned out that wasn't really the case, and that in fact, really, always and forever.
I love that he used vibes there. That's so funny.
Really relies on the utilitarian. So it doesn't matter if the Supreme Court says no, you're overreaching your power, because if the president then says, so what? The Supreme Court doesn't have an army. They don't have. There's nothing they can do. Right? That's a constitutional crisis.
I think that what I may need in my life right now, aka upfront honesty. I feel that us blunt, honest, direct people get a bad rap, I think, sometimes, because it hurts to be confronted a little bit, right? But I think there are loving and accepting ways to do that, and I like to practice that. I do like to practice that. Well, stick around for my streams. Run stuff by me in the chat. I love talking to the chat. That's one of my favorite things to do, Psycho Katie. Yeah, I'll be blunt with you. I'll be blunt. I'll tell you what I think.
They can't do anything about it. So ultimately, in the end, depending on how far this dude wants to go, I personally believe that if given his druthers, he would absolutely basically have what Putin has, which is electoral authoritarianism. You know, have the sort of shadow play of elections. So that's what he wants, I believe, honestly. And maybe that's hyperbole. But there's not, the only thing that can stop that is the people rising up in a revolution, which I spent a lot of my time in places around the world where people try to celebrate their government.
Hugs right back at you, baby.
Violence
Right back at you.
always sucks.
Yeah.
And it always puts the country way, way far behind. And it's, I just no longer am the young person who believed in violent revolution as a recalibration of politics. It doesn't. I just don't see it working. I think the history of the 20th century tells us that it doesn't work. Or that it's too violent and too many people are harmed. And that's one problem with our conservative political movement in this country, is that they're too willing to harm people to recalibrate for their politics.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's the answer. So then your only other answer is that the military decides to.
How'd you find my stream? I'm curious. Not that I'm happy you're here. I'm just really curious what your inroad is from, because I've been doing a video a day for the last week to try to get people into the stream. So I'm curious if you were just like perusing Twitch, or was it in through like Instagram or TikTok? Like how'd you find out about me?
To enforce the will of the Supreme Court, or in the will of the people.
Yeah.
And these are very shady, complex things that are like a set of vibes. They're not laws. Right?
Yeah.
And we see countries all the time. We just saw an attempt in where you're going in South Korea. We just saw an attempt at putting in martial law.
That hasn't been announced yet.
Oh, sorry. Let's do that again.
No,
We just saw in
please.
South Korea.
Please, yeah.
We just saw in South Korea an attempt by a leader who was, basically finding himself locked up by the checks and balances of his constitutional society.
Yeah.
Attempt to martial law. And this is a country that has a very recent history of authoritarianism.
Yep.
So, so this is something that could totally happen here in the States. I drifted from the question. The workaround about good leadership.
Yeah.
So I think you've got two things you can do. You can do your best to create a kind of a constitutional system, and our founding fathers have some original sins that they failed to do, but
Yeah.
you can create a constitutional system with enough checks and balances that it
And to his point, for the sake of this video, not that anybody's watching this deep in, I think those original sins will always exist as imperfect humans try to make constitutional systems, and so we have to use ideas and wording in a way that makes space for change in the future. Because like when the Constitution was being written for America initially, we had slaves, and you can't tell me you're a God-fearing man if you are willing to enslave another human being, right? What does that look like now in 2025? If I try to write a constitution that doesn't allow for maybe artificial sentience to have personhood, that in 100 years is going to be looked on the same way we look at slavery now. We're going to look at people who abused digital sentience as digital slavers. Like, AI is opening us up to a whole new slew of sins that we have to make space for now, like immediately. Even if the technology isn't there yet, because it will get there. People want it to happen, so they will make it. And when we break through those kinds of barriers, we have to be thinking ethically and empathetically. And you can't write a constitution if you're also fucking your slaves. Just to put it fucking bluntly.
can help keep this stuff in check better than the system that we have. The U.S. Constitution has a lot of flaws.
Oh, now there's 4 people watching. Should I get more political? Is that the goal?
It will hold the culture to a point where we expect more from our leaders, so that the people who want power, to acquire power, they have to act and behave a certain way. And we just don't have that. I think maybe we used to, within limits. I mean, we've always sort of been a racist culture and stuff, but we used to expect our leaders to behave a certain way, and maybe that was.
Oh, chat. This is a long fucking podcast. This is going to be rough to cut.
We need to foster that. We need to foster an educated, equitable society
Yeah.
that expects more from its leadership.
Yeah.
If you don't educate your society, which we are failing, we have been failing to do since World War II, if we don't create an equitable society, which we have been failing at, or we've been minusculely moving towards equity for certain groups and not all groups, then you're not going to have higher expectations.
Yeah.
Morally, ethically, for lack of a better term. That's
And I think that's something we are moving towards, to bring from the hypothetical.
Are we?
I think so, because we are, and I think that's something we are moving towards, to bring from the hypothetical.
Are we?
I think so, because
Seems like we're backsliding.
the extinction death throes are big, right? Like the nervous system convulses violently as it dies.
Yes.
But I look at the internet, and my example that I love to use for this is John Fetterman. We have his whole political career documented on the internet, and people are able to call him on stuff live right now. I can stitch this video and say, this is not what John Fetterman said he was about 4 years ago. Here's the clip. And that kind of, demands authenticity from our leaders. To be like, no, the internet is going to be our fact checker. There needs to be things done around that to make that process Snopes-like, for lack of a better term. Like, we have to have a department of art and a department of information factuality.
Yeah. Which you see in like Northern and Eastern Europe. Which you see in like Northern and Eastern Europe.
Yep.
Because they're constantly dealing with the threat of Russia's, misinformation.
Exactly. And the internet.
Long pause.
Let me make the analogy. I believe the internet's our new fire. We are cavemen dealing with brand new stuff. And so maybe my call for power to be relationship is a caveman asking for a fire department.
Mhm.
It's a dream, and it is something that we can build towards, but if that's my expectation as a caveman, no one's coming to save me.
Yeah.
Right? I have to learn how to operate around this fire.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this about your metaphor. The United States is currently in a fire truck shortage.
Truly.
No, but I don't even mean metaphorically. I mean, we have a shortage of fire trucks.
Yes.
So,
Our fires, our actual fires, are not being put out.
yeah.
The
So,
our fires, our actual fires, are not being put out.
yeah.
The caveman's dream is dying.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
I look for low viewer counts as I like to promote them if I can give them tarot readings if they accept. Whoa, a tarot? That's cool. I consent to you pulling 3 cards for me. I'd do a 3-card pull with you. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm into tarot. I'm a Cancer, Aquarius, Cancer. Those are my big 3. I have a big fat Leo stellium. I have a big fat Cap stellium. We feeling out here. We feeling. But I have some big life moves happening over the next couple weeks, and I would love insight. I know I'm on the right path. Truly, I feel the divineness of the path that I'm on right now. Maybe like a financial success reading, or like a money reading. Honestly, even a love reading. I'm very single. Yeah, that sounds fun. All right, Psycho Kitty, look at you with the skills. You got skills.
See the internet obviously as a yin-yang tool. I mean, it obviously has democratized. It has educated. It keeps me in touch with youth culture.
You can help me pick which streamer we should raid whenever I'm done. That'd be fun too.
Very John Waters.
That sounds good to me. But also, politically, like we discussed, either captured or not captured on camera. I've learned a lot.
Pardon me.
Discuss the issues. Inversely, it's also been an amazing tool for propaganda dissemination, controlling the narrative. So I don't know that this thing balances. I mean, I think this is just your typical hammer. Build a house, hit a dude in the head. What are you gonna do with it? I don't know that it's gonna save us or break us.
I definitely see it with the ability to. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe that's our job, or my job as a young writer, is to write about a world where we are putting those things in place.
Yeah.
And what that kind of world could look like.
Yeah.
And maybe what a world where just fighting entropy is the problem is enough of a problem to be an engaging story, instead of it having to be centered around taking down undue.
1, 2, 3. Past, future, present. Yeah, I love that.
Because that's
Love that.
The story shape, right?
Oh, an Aries. Oh, I love an Aries.
You got to go down to the dip of bad things.
Y'all are quirky. Y'all are goofy
Yeah,
weirdos.
Well,
Actually, one of my tattoo
I'm a
artists
big fan of
is a Aries, and she's fantastic. One of my favorite Aries.
I'm a big fan of that's the story sheet.
down to the dip of bad things before we come back up out of it.
Yeah, that's the story sheet.
And
Story sheet.
I'm a big fan of the ramp.
you start hearing.
You like the ramp?
But that's more of an action story.
Right.
Shape,
I that kind of
1 to 100.
It's like, listen.
42.
Dragon Ball Z, but it doesn't start
Let's
here,
go 42.
it starts here.
Well, but
The meaning of life, the universe, and everything. Also, your age.
okay, I don't know how deep in the lore you are. But okay, I don't know.
I feel like Dragon Ball Z, but it doesn't start here. It like starts here.
Well, but okay, I don't know how deep in the lore you are, but
Not much.
We went from these guys can punch a mountain to
Which does sound like a high.
that's a high
place to
starting
start.
point.
Yeah.
But we've hit a point where they've all died and gone to hell and back and can now nuke a universe.
Amazing. This is Dragon Ball Z.
This is
I
Dragon
have
Ball
no
Z.
idea.
This-
I don't know anything about it. Except,
I mean, it's gotten interesting.
yeah.
But that is one of those like just always chart up. There's no
Sorry, it froze. Can you give your 3 numbers again? Oh, I'm supposed to give you 3 numbers? Is that... I'll do... 3 numbers between 1 and 100? Is that what I'm doing here? I see your chats in the stream, but they didn't pop into my like stream log for some reason. Sorry I missed that.
except for right now, actually, they got the original writer back to do Daima, where everybody's babies, and I love that because Muppet babies.
Yes.
Listen, if you're doing that with my Dragon Ball characters, I'm here for it. But it's much smaller scale storytelling.
Yeah.
It's different for Dragon Ball.
But also a story. But also a story shape doesn't have to be about scale. It can be the emotional struggle the characters in. So even though you can destroy a universe, you can still have a moment where you're behind a hate or whatever terminology.
Yeah.
I think about when I think story shape. It's a Kurt Vonnegut. It definitely it's the story shape of Cinderella, right? It's fucking stepsisters making her clean the house while everybody goes to the ball. Absolutely. Fairy godmother shows up. She gets the thing. She gets to go to the ball. Oh my God, she meets the prince. But then it's midnight, and she drops all the way back down to where she was. But then suddenly the prince shows up with a slipper, and we're through the roof. We're out. That's kind of so. Even gods can. It strikes midnight even for gods.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right. I did look that one up, just to see the video.
I love that's a huge. It's one of the biggest.
Just to see the video.
I love that's a huge. It's one of the biggest. I haven't done a lot of reading or watching about how to write stories. I'm always just run by the seat of my pants for better or for worse. But that's like I recommend everyone see. Just understand story shape. Yeah.
The Cinderella one was the one where he was like, if you want to make $1 million.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You could never tell this story too much, or something like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
I love it.
Where's your head at? Oh, let me regroup these.
We're 3 hours in with only an hour and a half. I love it. We're 3 hours in with only an hour and a half of recording. So I'm hitting the point where it's like maybe we wrap up here.
Yeah, and we could do, whatever you want. This is your thing. We can do it again if you want when we're more fresh brained and try again before you leave or whatever. And you're on a timetable. We can do it whatever you want.
I
follow your.
You and I to go to places that I can't clip farm. There's no hot takes.
Right.
Let's cut all the way through there. Ungroup, delete, Ripple delete. Okay, 1 past, 2 present, 3 future. That's what you meant. Yes, we're gonna go 3 future. Three. To be clear. Thanks for qualifying for me. Sometimes I'm dumb and I don't know things,
Right.
and I think that makes me sexy.
The hottest we got was basically you saying John Locke was optimistic with his ideas of the businesses moving us, and it's actually the military. And he really didn't. You know what I mean? Like, who on the internet's going to be like, wow, that John Locke hot take really steamy out of this podcast. I'd love to hit like a crescendo note to end on, but the idea was to just kind of run through the process and the approach from fresh.
Yeah.
And I think we grabbed that. I think we grabbed the go in from it like you're saying. You didn't have to dump into studying story shape. Your process has been just being authentic to what is interesting to you in storytelling. Stuff follows a story shape. You know, if someone were to go and analyze, just from what I've read, you know, I could definitely analyze that way. The in is that authentic.
Did I regroup? I did not.
I'm going to do this, whether it stretches me to the point of almost breaking, or whether or not I'm good at it, or the end point is like allowing yourself to start regardless of what the outcome is going to be.
Because I think this is like the core message, right? I know.
I'm excited for a tarot reading from Miss Psycho Kitty. I might even clip it. I might even clip that shit.
People are going to want to create for an audience. And that's important. I mean, you definitely have to think about that, particularly if you want to make a living at it. Although I would argue everyone should have a creative pastime, even if no one ever...
You know, I probably could be like scratching through these instead of listening through the whole time and looking for where I actually start talking.
Through the creation process, not the having process.
I also need you to choose 1 through 40 and sun or moon. Oh no, my light switched off. Where's your head at? Where's your head at? Switch to a different mode for now. Okay, let's go moon, because I'm a Cancer and I'm led by the moon. And 1 through 40. Let's go 34. Let's go 34. 34 moon.
I don't know. I suppose you've been showing me a little short film that you've been working on. It seems to be just for your enjoyment.
That's right.
That's where the inspiration for this project came from.
Oh.
I would love, and I'm so stoked that I have been doing this for so long that I don't have to think about doing the things that tend to bring audience in. You know what I mean? I'm not looking at a list of 5 more openings because I want a bunch of eyes on it. I want the challenge of, can I turn this into an authentic Seth Decker?
Yes.
This is my line. Only I can say this to start this video
Yes.
in the way that I would say it. That's the challenge for me in this. The doing a review from my teenage self versus my adult self. This is my journey.
Yes.
Like, I love that the audience is going to enjoy it, and I'm finding that the deeper I go into my personal stuff, like talking about singing Phantom of the Opera with my sisters in the living room, I thought is too niche to add into this. I almost cut that section out entirely. The first fucking comment I get, is, me too.
Yeah.
That was the experience of, because it's wide, and I didn't think about it wide.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for now.
Absolutely. And look, and I how to finish it and put it
Oh my god, let's talk about that. That's
Okay.
that's a good ending place, because that has been my biggest victory as a creator, to wrap back around on the wokeness, has been looking at the tenets of white supremacy and taking them out of my creative process, and allowing for things like the video that I showed you is like 75% what I think would be representative of my best work.
Okay.
And that was on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Because instead of hemming and hawing and going like, oh, I gotta like get this to be the most perfect,
Yes.
for every frame poured over and sweated and cried. No, I.
Sometimes I just like listening to myself talk too much.
Finish those. Good job.
Yes, thank you.
And I don't mean that in like
No. Yeah, I understand.
a shitty way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Point for a project.
It depends, right? Is it a project that I am?
Let's go personal.
Okay.
Because let's go personal.
Okay.
Because your published work is out there. I've got a shit ton of it in my fucking
Yeah.
car right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
awesome.
you
Thank
finished
you.
those. Good job.
Yes, thank you.
And I don't mean that in like
No. Yeah, I understand.
a shitty way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, finishing that is a different beast, right? We're finishing that for a market that expects a certain degree of professionalism, and so there's a lot of personal work that went in. That's it.
What does finish look like for I bought the phone?
I
Is that export is happy enough? Are you
Yes,
posting?
export for that is happy enough. Export for that.
Are you
Yes,
posting?
export for that is happy enough.
Okay.
What other? Give me other options. Is there?
Well,
another
I mean,
option?
again, if this is something you're making for yourself, maybe it's just to show. This is like the home video. This is 8mm, right?
Yeah.
Like something like that. Maybe it's you export and that's finished, and now you want to post it, and just like maybe it gets 17 views.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
what I'm talking.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I do think. I mean, obviously, it's different if you're doing.
Oh.
there's such a difference.
And you never.
there's such a difference between me telling someone I have 9 movie credits on IMDb and then me showing people the movies that those turn into.
Yes.
That's such a different. I could claim the power all that
Yes.
I want, but like to also put it in someone's hands and be like, did you like that part? Did you
Yes.
enjoy?
Yes.
Did that joke make sense to you?
You know, I Bought a Farm is perfect. I Bought a Farm is perfect. You know, I asked you to watch it. You're the first human being other than my wife who is contractually, you know, obligated to love everything I do, that I ever showed it to. So I like sat in this doorway and watched you watching it.
In this chair right here.
In
on
this chair right,
computer.
yeah, exactly. And you know, I learned a lot more about that project than I had learned spending hours and hours and hours, because it takes me 3 times as long to like edit as everyone else because I don't know how to edit. But you know, working on that project and it works the opposite way too. Like you know, you obviously see how much you suck through other people's eyes, but there were a lot of things I was very unsure of in that project. That watching you watch it, even before you said any word to me, that I was like, oh, that's not so bad. Actually, that's working.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
and not you weren't even reacting. It's just you know, we talked a lot throughout both the recorded and lost day about empathy and how much creativity relies on empathy, and if you're not being empathic, you're going to make shallow work.
Yep.
But that's also an act of empathy. Is me looking at the back of your head, watching that thing. It's like now I'm trying to be Seth. I'm like trying to be Seth.
Yeah.
I want to be you watching this thing, and you know, this is the best. We're at our best as human beings when we're trying to be each other.
Right.
And you know, we're trying to get out of our own concerns and trying to understand the concerns of others. That's when we're at our best, and that's when creativity is at its best. So that's why these things are so important. Being human.
It took me, I think, 5 of our short films to hit a point where I got that, putting myself into other people, because I'm a Tarantino fanboy, but I even think some of his philosophies only work for him, and one of his philosophies is, my goal as a director is to get everyone else to make my movie. And that was my approach, was like, yeah, look, I've got an amazing imagination. I can conceptualize it's a blessed process to me.
And that brings us back to what we were talking about, where what if the act of creation is more important than than having a created product?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we're all operating in a marketplace, so that's a complicated notion to invest in. But you know, in this instance, you're in collaboration, which is one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most exciting things human beings do is collaborate.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not even about creativity. Corporations are collaboration. Like all this nonsense, everything's collaboration, and that's just the height of humanity. Is we were all pulling for something together, and so. I mean, there isn't really anything else.
Right.
You know.
Truly, and once we figured.
You know.
Truly, and once we figured out how to like eat and sleep in safe places, we were like, I guess we just make stuff now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly. And you know, exactly. And even choosing a safe place to sleep can be a collaborative effort,
Exactly.
you know, depending on how big your tribe.
Exactly.
You know, so to me, that's it. That's the energy we're all looking for. It's the energy that will save us.
The government is. The government is taking care of my living and food. It is up to me to move my body and then do something creative. And if I'm not doing that, I don't deserve the money that's coming to me. That's how I feel.
I love it.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm learning a lot. I'm not gonna lie, and I guess
I don't know if
learning
that's
a lot.
true, yeah.
I'm learning a lot. I'm not gonna lie, and that's every time I start a new project. I
Yeah.
learn a lot about myself. I'm setting new.
But see, you were
standards.
willing to do. You were willing to. But see, you were willing to do. You were willing to do this. It was your idea.
I'm unemployed. I'm unemployed.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
The government is taking care of my living and food. That's how I feel.
I love it.
Yeah. The experience, and because of where I've grown, just being like, I wasn't willing to believe that this was good.
But that's maybe valuable. But that's maybe valuable. You know, we talked about this earlier. Like, you got to be able to dismantle yourself without paralyzing yourself.
I love that.
Yeah, you've got to.
You can't take off the arm. You can't take off the arm that's working on you.
Yeah. Like, tear yourself down, because that's where growth will come from. But you know, don't fucking kill it. It costs you nothing to look back and be like, that's not so bad. But it was valuable to him.
Right. I think that was something. Checklist of.
I think, but honestly, you made the caveat that maybe there's, you know, maybe I have or somebody else has a way to deal with that themselves to go through that growth. But I really don't know of any creative act, especially one that is being done at a professional level, that doesn't involve you confronting yourself through conversation.
Interesting.
No matter how, I don't care if it's a novel, you got an editor and you got a publisher. I don't care if you're a video game dev who's doing it all by themselves. Ultimately, you're going to have a discussion with somebody about what's working and what's not working.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to tie back into collaboration. I appreciate your caveat, and maybe you're right. Maybe there is somebody out there who has, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we all need each other to find our way.
If I give, let's say, Robert Rodriguez, someone who's known for doing everything by himself, your point here is that eventually, maybe he's.
Find our way.
If I give. Right. Yeah. No one's totally insulated. Yeah. I definitely see that.
He's got money people invested, even minusculely in his earlier films. He's got.
Yeah, that's true.
But that, you know, that's the conversation.
I cannot believe. I can't believe that our re-recording is now better than the first recording.
Is that true?
I feel that way.
There was some stuff we
way.
were talking about.
We didn't get to any of the
About Unknown Soldier and
Soldier
the ethics
stuff.
of like writing outside of your space.
Yeah.
That was
We
interesting.
did touch through that a little bit, touching on writing around trans characters. That was kind of the seed of that idea.
Yeah.
I think from the first
We
take.
definitely condensed it.
We did touch through that a little bit.
The ethics of like writing outside of your space.
Yeah.
That was
We did touch through that a little. Yeah. Well, because like our way into that was bringing up that interview actually that I said Me Too for calling out whiteness. All the pathways from that first recording are still here.
Yeah.
I feel that this was a more.
I have been fucking.
I feel that this was a
I can't believe I got him farting. That's so funny. Listen to this.
I have been fucking needing to.
Yo!
Bad.
First
I have so much
podcast
gas.
fart.
Really?
I don't.
I'm so sorry, man. That one smells too. Forgive me.
I have something clippable.
say you added it. Oh.
You know, no, because we got it on camera. You lifting up and
I
acknowledging it
still
and
have so much
everything.
gas. I've had so much gas for this whole shoot.
It's the goat's milk and the coffee.
I don't drink. I'm so sorry.
Ooh.
I need it so bad. I need it so bad. It feels so good.
This is crazy.
This is professional comic book writer Joshua Dysart.
Woke comic
Woke comic book writer has worked for DC, Vertigo. You started more than one. Has worked for DC, comic book writer.
Woke. I'm sorry.
This is professional comic book. This is professional comic book writer Joshua Dysart.
That's too funny. And then we'll group those again. We gotta be getting to the end now.
Woke comic.
Woke comic book writer has worked for DC, Vertigo. You started more than one comic company. You did a relaunch with.
Yeah, that's true. TKO was the first, one of the very first
That's
published
right,
people.
that's
TKO. Yeah, that. Yeah, that's true. That idea. Yeah, I used to really love helping start new companies.
Yeah.
It was so exciting because you're like, you've got to identify yourself in the marketplace. There's some very pragmatic shit you got. But also you've got to be unique. That was cool. Same with TKO, same with Bad Ideas. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And then I think for any newbies to the process, this is the kind of conversations you get to have when you keep finishing things.
Yes. Yeah. That's
Right? Like,
yeah.
truly, you don't get to jump into that without finishing things, regardless of what the outcome is.
Yeah.
No one's career has been tanked by a bad thing.
Man, you know what? The very first ongoing series. Man, you know.
By a bad thing.
Man, you know what? The very first ongoing.
Tell me about Swamp Thing. Watts wrote on Swamp Thing? Did I? More wrote
Alan
on
Moore.
Alan,
Yeah.
the other Alan. What's it like to be in that wheelhouse, and then what's the story you're telling here? Tell me about Swamp Thing. Tell me about Swamp Thing.
Terrifying to be in that wheelhouse. The dude didn't want it and all that shit. He's like a big.
Oh yeah.
Cut all this out. Maybe anyway, a lot of people. Anyway. Novel. She's a novelist. And she's very successful there. So.
Yeah.
But Grant Morrison. Anyway, a lot of people.
Yeah.
But Grant Morrison. Anyway, a lot of people became huge names working on Swamp Thing. So it was perceived at that time. I'm not sure it is anymore, as sort of a breeding ground for the new talent. So that was really scary.
Yeah.
Most like, unless you're being a Nazi or something.
Sure.
But if they have, they just hate it for aesthetic reasons.
Do you think a Nazi can make an authentic piece of art? I feel like
That's a really interesting
if
question.
that's your goal, to push forward things that are innately anti-human.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure they're accessing the part of themselves.
That's a super interesting question. That's a super interesting question because
Maybe you can,
if
and
it's
that's what
my
makes it fucked up.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
so. Maybe, like, what is authenticity? Genocide.
More than one, yeah. And that gives it
Genocide.
more than one, yeah. And that gives it the disgusting aspect. The resolution of the human spirit.
Well,
bounce
give
back.
climate change a chance. There might be. We have a good. We've got a whole new set of.
Just because the human spirit.
Well,
bounce
give climate change a chance. There might be. We have a good. We've got a whole new set of problems that's coming down the pipe.
Okay, you say that.
Problems that's coming down the pipe.
Okay, you say that, but then all the billionaires are going to be living underground, and they
Yeah.
got to bring some of us down there to feed them. then that's like, well, maybe we turn into the fucking underground people from what's that H.G. Wells, the time,
Oh, the
time
Morlocks.
machine,
Yeah,
the
the
Morlocks.
Morlocks.
Dude, that's the billionaire future.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now.
When they come up to
Right now.
when they come up. Up to eat our flesh. Eat our flesh.
And there's going to be pockets of us that survive climate change, in the same way there are pockets of mammals that survived the extinction of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Our flesh.
And
I'm just.
wow.
I'm sorry, I tried to see the picture. It's
No,
only
it's
'cause
so
we were
topical.
talking about it.
Honestly, my least favorite part of the podcast is the part where I have to like start hawking things with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I know.
So the fact that you naturally went there.
Yeah, because I'm very excited about it. Very excited about it, and also it's our first bad idea. Oh my god, this is turning into a real fucking podcast.
Yes.
No. It's the first time, not my book, but this. Fucking looks amazing. I wish it were my book. We are going to start allowing any sorry, I should have been.
But no, I can see the connection there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's just along the same.
Yeah. The my.
We had talked about other creators.
I would love that. Yeah.
Creators.
I would love that. Yeah. My goal for this podcast is for it to be I'm gonna make clips out of it first, just to get it out there for people to know it exists. But my goal is for this to be a little more closed in than the previous podcast that I've made. This is not going out to wide streaming. It's only gonna have a single home. And so I want to like approach this in a way that's like just bringing other people into the same conversation and just like sitting in the pool of like the process. Maybe we can do startings only episodes, we can do endings only episodes, we can do whole process with
Where's your head at? We're getting to the end here. We're getting to the end.
it's possible.
Yeah.
This way we get to kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree. And being in person is.
I would have been a little more succinct. And I would have been a little more succinct. And also the other end of this is you gotta watch me tear down after this now too. So like I don't even get to just like log off and be like, all right, see you next time.
Speaking of building empathy, as I watch you, yeah, exactly. I think it's good.
It really makes you think about what you want to invest in time.
Yeah.
You've got to like fucking build your lights and haul them around. And so
I had an idea of what I wanted this to be walking into it.
yeah, nice. Awesome.
I really appreciate you being here. A heartfelt. If you would have told me, was it 5 years ago now that we first chatted?
Is that true?
I feel like it was pre-COVID that you were on the first.
I was living on
Yeah, it was right around there. I think we're coming up on like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
If you would have told me then in that episode that you and I would be pals,
We're pals.
I think so.
I think so.
I don't know if I would have. I truly wouldn't have believed that there was like a Seth-shaped space in your life
Oh, stop!
at the time.
Why?
So to be like in your house, setting up
So exciting.
equipment and like and we get to and you let me just make fun of you sometimes.
I
Ripping
deserve to
ass
be
on
made
my
fun of.
couch. Listen. It's so much more human now, and that's I think the biggest distillation of your art. So like
Yeah.
I got
That's
what
what
I
I
came
want
here
to
for.
do. Well, I really appreciate you saying that.
Oh, Mr. Dysart's so sweet.
Or some shit, but it isn't. And then, wait, what was the other thing?
it's unreal. It's unreal to
It's the
be,
most real.
right. Yeah, that's what I've learned. Right.
Yeah.
The most unreal.
Yeah.
Just
Making it sound like it's like a favor or some shit, but it isn't. And then, wait, what was the other thing?
just a great chat. I can't wait to be
Sweet.
these. I think you've already spoiled it going overseas though. So
Well, you obviously can cut that out, but we should just, whether the camera's rolling or not, while we talk about it, like, you've got this fucking adventure, man. Oh, you obviously can cut that out, but we should.
I'm not gonna cut it out.
Whether the camera's rolling or not, while we talk about it, like, you've got this fucking adventure, man. Oh, I wanted to say that. Maybe you can find the right place for that. Creativity should be. The truest definition.
You saying adventure makes me think I have to be ready to face down hardship. On
Of
this.
course you do. I mean, you're going to be alive in a new place.
I'm hoping.
Hopefully the hardships will be manageable and fun, but there's
Right.
going to be hardship, of course.
I might even have my imagination of able.
Yeah.
I solved that problem, right? And I don't have to like hem and haw
Yeah.
and sit on that kind of stuff. I'm hoping that's what the problems are.
Well,
on
I
this
mean,
adventure.
I hate to say this, but we're going to be there for at least a year. Right? So
We'll be in South Korea for 3 months, but I'll be
Oh,
overseas
that's right, that's right, you're
overseas
right.
for
Yeah,
about a
overseas.
year, if all goes to
I
plan.
mean, there's going to be some hardships, but you are uniquely. Capable and emotionally intelligent enough to maneuver amongst them and to take to grow. Like opportunity growth. Garden is going to be more abundant.
I should do a podcast with that guy, with this guy. You know what I mean? I should
Yeah,
I should
yeah.
record some stuff now and then go back later
Oh, that'd fucking be awesome. Even if you
Sometimes it cuts both, sometimes it doesn't, and I don't know why.
Like basic way.
Yeah.
If you're like, this is what I perceive it's gonna be like. And yeah, exactly.
You tell me, future Seth.
Yeah, exactly.
You tell me, future Seth.
Yeah.
You tell me, future Seth. What did
Yeah.
it end up being? It was not like that at all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, you might encounter some racism. You might encounter, you know, there's gonna be a lot of stuff.
That's gonna be an interesting. Maybe we should just do a whole second episode on.
Yeah, I mean, you will have. I mean, I don't know so much about South Korea, but I do have friends who have gone to work in Japan.
That's a totally new experience that I find so much value in as a white American. I'm ready for that new space of empathy because it's something that I push myself to have here, to have empathy for the disenfranchised groups that we have here, but I only have the insulated American experience within that, and so to be able to genuinely have that experience somewhere else from the other side in a new way, in a unique way, in a way that like a black American would not experience racism in the same way I'm likely to experience it overseas. And
This is the reviews. Reviewing
that's
going to
continue
which is also making a
overseas.
movie a day, basically.
I mean, at least a 5-minute one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's right. That's right. I mean, I think, look. Creative, personal, emotional, and spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Maybe even physical.
That's the goal too. Yeah. I mean, listen, if I'm gonna get away from all this poison food, I gotta take advantage of it.
Yeah,
You know
sure.
what I mean? Gotta lift and run and eat the good shit, and I'm excited for that for sure. It's gonna be a wild one. I'm excited to be able to come back to this and even rewatch.
I know. I was thinking about this conversation alone. Like, we could clip this off the end.
Truly, truly.
See how this reads in a year.
Dude, hey buddy. Rewatch.
I know. I was thinking about this.
Truly,
See how this reads in a year.
Dude, hey buddy. Hey future Josh, have you grown in the last year?
Probably not. I'm probably too old.
Have you grown in the last year?
Probably not. I'm probably too old to grow. No, that's totally bullshit.
Can regional doctor tricks.
Can you?
I think. I mean, I want to believe.
No, I think. I mean, that whole. There's nothing definitive about that. Some people.
I see the end.
It's not a Seth and Josh podcast. It's not a Seth and Josh podcast unless we take 15 minutes to close out. So
Exactly.
let me do an actual ending here. I appreciate anybody who's watched through to this point. You're on the Patreon. I got nothing to sell you. You're already here. So thanks for being here. This was episode 1 of at least 2 a month.
Sweet.
I'm gonna try to do 2 podcasts.
I think that
a
sounds
month.
awesome.
It won't be you every time.
Oh,
but
good.
yeah. You don't want to do the work.
I mean, I you know.
He's gonna pick up crochet instead, and it's gonna be hilarious. No, I appreciate anyone that's watched this deep in it on the Patreon. See you on the next one.
Awesome.
Wow, what a long fucking edit. And I haven't peed once. I'm going to finish this up tomorrow because I've been at it for 3 fucking hours to watch and listen through the whole thing. I'm glad I did, though, because I know where to clip now. And I got to do the AB cam stuff, so I'll probably stream that tomorrow. And I may jump back on stream for my review later tonight, because I got to watch Wallace and Gromit and review that, and that's going to be it. So I'll be back, but this is the end of this stream, but see you next time, but whatever.